Hi guys, my name's Sam. Today's video is a little bit different in that it's not going to be a yoga flow, but instead it's a beginner's guide to a headstand. So this video is perfect for anyone who has been practicing yoga for a while, but not ever done a headstand and don't really have much of an idea of how to one day get there. So I'm hoping to be able to show you some steps today that you can work on over a long period of time that's going to help you one day be able to get into a headstand. It's also good for people who already have their headstand or have been practicing or working with it for a little while. I always find myself that even when I go to a class or listen to a different teacher these days, I always pick up a slightly different tip or technique, something that I hadn't thought of or realised before that just helps me feel a little bit more stable, a little stronger, understand my body a little bit better in a headstand. So this video is definitely perfect for whatever level you are at. I would say just make sure that you are in quite a safe part of your house. So we're not going to be falling out of our headstand today, but just in case, safety always first. Just make sure you haven't got anything kind of dangerous around you. Just make sure you've got a nice space around you. And you'll see I've positioned myself by a wall, which we're going to be using for one of the steps I'm going to show you, which is going to help you work up the confidence and strength to get to your headstand. So if you can position your mat by a wall, that would be great. You'll notice I've also got a block. If you have a yoga block, that would be fab. If you don't have one, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have one. It's just quite useful for one of the strengthening exercises we're going to go through. So grab one if you have one. If you don't worry about it. You'll still be able to do the exercise without it. All right, so we're going to get started just mobilising or opening up the parts of the body we want to be quite open for our headstand. So a little bit of hamstrings, upper back, chest, shoulders, and then we're going to be working on strengthening the parts of the body we want to be strong for our headstand, which is largely the core and the shoulders and upper back. So we're going to work through that a little bit and then we're going to get going into our kind of step-by-step towards our headstand. Okay, so you can just start up on a seated position. So I'm sitting here on my heels. You can sit cross-legged if you like. Then just going to bring your hands onto your shoulders and just start with some shoulder rolls. So just starting to warm up the upper back and open the chest a bit here. You're welcome to close your eyes and just starting to move maybe with the breath, breathing in as the elbows go back, breathing out as they come together. And then start to reverse your shoulder rolls, going one way then the other. And then start to go opposite directions. So one elbow forward, one elbow back. Maybe again, close the eyes and hopefully noticing a nice little bit of freedom, a little movement coming into the upper back here. And then changing direction, breathing in and breathing out. Good, and then open your eyes, take a big breath in, sweep the arms up, and breathe out, bring the arms down. Two more, inhale, draw the abdomen in, stretch the arms high, and breathe out, arms down. Last one, big breath in, and big breath out. Go up again as you breathe in. This time bend your right elbow, left hand to right elbow. Nice opening up of the chest. Close your eyes. Keep the abdomen and rib cage in. Breathe in and lift that top elbow up a little bit higher. Breathe out and maybe press the back of the head into the arm or the arm into the back of the head a little bit more. For 3. For 2. Good. Eyes open. Switch arms, bending the left arm. And again, eyes closed. Breathing in, lengthening that top elbow towards the ceiling, keeping the abdomen in. Breathing out, maybe pressing the back of the head into the hand a little bit more, into the arm. For 3, for 2, and 1. Good. Release, maybe give the shoulders a last little bit of a roll, and make your way onto your hands and your knees. So finding your tabletop, spreading your fingers nice and wide, bringing the knees underneath the hips, and just start just a few rounds of nice and simple cat-cow. Nice bit of mobility now for the spine. Breathing in as you drop the belly, lift the heart. Breathing out as you round the spine, really grounding down with those fingertips. Nice stretch in the back body. All right, just do a couple more of these. Again, maybe starting to roll through the hips and the shoulders like you're rolling inside a barrel, trying to touch every side of the barrel with the body, maybe bending the elbows. Just really starting to get that spine, that waist nice and mobile for 3, for 2. Good. All right. So on our hands and knees in position, I'm going to talk a little bit about the shoulders. So the reason a lot of people get a bit of fear around headstand is about pain in the neck. So we don't really want, in the version of headstand we're going to be doing today, our bound headstand, we don't really want much weight in the neck at all, if any. It's all in the arms and in the shoulders. So it's really important that we have strong shoulders here. So we want to make sure the stabilizers in our shoulders are really switched on. And a good way to be able to do this, and we can practice it on our hands and our knees, which is obviously with a lot less kind of weight involved in the upper body, is you're going to bring your hands down as you normally do, fingers spread wide. And I want you to start to imagine you're pulling your hands towards each other on the mat, but they're not actually moving, okay? So you're going to draw your hands towards each other, and as you do that, you're going to start to slowly turn the fingers kind of outwards, but they're not, again, going to move. So you're drawing the hands in, but you're almost kind of turning the fingers outwards, the thumbs forwards, okay? So do that in your tabletop, and again, you're not trying to move your hands, it's more of an intention. So the neck is long, the ribs are in, fingers are spread wide, so now starting to traction the hands slightly towards each other, and again spiraling the fingers outwards a little. And I'm hoping you should be feeling something going on under the armpits here. That's our serratus anterior, that's our stabilizer in our shoulder, and that's the muscle we want to be really switched on, and that's going to help activate and strengthen the upper back, keeping our upper back nice and active, our shoulders nice and strong, and again stop any weight kind of coming into our neck, which is not what we want. So tabletop is a really nice way to perfect this action. And again, it's not even just for our headstand, it's for any kind of upper body weight bearing exercise. So even in plank, yeah? So we're in our tabletop. So you're going to stay here, turning the fingers out and drawing the abdomen in. Okay, so keeping that, we're just going to start to fire up the core a little bit. So you're going to start to stretch the right fingers and left toes out as you breathe in and float them up as you breathe out. Grow a little taller, really ground down with that left palm, and then exhale, bring your knee to your elbow, bring it in. Inhale, lengthening away. Exhale, draw it in and up. 3 more, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, draw it in. Inhale, lengthen away. Exhale, in and up, really grounding down with that left palm. Last one, breathing in. And hold it here for 3. Draw the knee in a little more. For 2, press down more with the left hand. Lengthen it all the way back out again. And then slowly come down. Good. All right, set yourself up, other side. So both hands on the mat, ribs in. Tractioning the hands towards each other, turning them outwards. And then when you're ready, starting to ground down with the right hand. Left fingers, right toes, lengthen and lift up. As you breathe out, knee to elbow, really grounding that right palm down. Inhale, lengthening it away. Exhale, in and up. Inhale, lengthen away. 3 more. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Last one. Draw it in and hold it for 3. Ground that right palm down more for 2. Lengthen out as you breathe in. And hand and knee back down as you breathe out. Good. Maybe roll back a little bit. Take a child's pose for a few moments. And then we're going to find our way to downward dog. So spreading those fingers wide. Tucking the toes. Looking towards the thighs. And then shifting the hips up and back. So just starting to make some nice movements with the legs. Starting to open up the hamstrings, the back of the legs here. Oh gosh, excuse the cracks of my ankles. One way then the other. Pressing the mat away with the palms. Good. Drawing the abdomen in towards the back of the body. Last few moments. And then coming to stillness in your downward dog. Really squeezing the thighs, really pressing the palms away, drawing the abdomen towards the back of the body. And then squeezing your legs and rolling forward to your first plank pose as you breathe in. So remember what I said about those palms. So press them into the mat, draw them slightly towards each other and just try and spiral the fingers outwards. Feeling those armpits now hollowing, those stabilizer muscles kicking in. For 3, squeezing the glutes and the legs. For 2, exhale, hips go all the way back to your downward dog. 4 more of those. Inhale, squeeze the whole body, rolling forward to plank pose. Exhale, take it all the way back. 3 more. Maybe closing your eyes. With every exhale as the hips go back, those lower belly muscles should be firing to lift those hips up and back. 2 more. Breathing in, whole body is drawing towards its center line in your plank. Exhale, take it back. Okay, last one. Come forward to plank and hold it here. Last little bit of firing up that core. Draw the abdomen in. If this becomes too much of a challenge, drop your knees to the mat. Float your right leg up in your plank, staying in your plank. Exhale, bring your right knee to your right elbow. Cross it to your left elbow. Take it back to the right elbow. Cross it to the left elbow. 1 more, right elbow, left elbow. Bring it to the nose. For 3, press down with the palms, draw the abdomen in, squeeze the legs, last breath. Extend that right leg out, place it back down, reset. When you're ready, left leg lifts up, left knee, left elbow. Cross it to right elbow, back to left elbow, back to right elbow. 1 more, you've got this. Left elbow, right elbow, knee to nose, hold it. For 3, press the mat away, squeeze the legs, last 2. Extend the leg out, both feet down, knees down. Child's pose. Just rest your forehead on the mat. Bring your head down, bring your hands by your heels. Just taking a couple of breaths. And then slowly bring your hands under your shoulders, come up to sit. Last little bit of core activation. Yes, there's more. So coming up into a seated position, we're going to find our boat pose, our Navasana. So taking the hands to the backs of the thighs, leaning backwards and seeing if you can lift the feet up. Squeeze the legs together. So really squeezing the legs here, activating the inner thighs, trying to find your balance as I'm still trying to do. Activating the inner thighs and really spread out those toes. Bring the arms out either sides of the body. Imagine you're closing your chest and thighs like a book. Palms face up. Wrap your armpits down so you should feel those shoulders again, that serratus anterior. Breathing here. Super simple, we're just holding it, that's it. Breathe, breathe, breathe. If you're feeling pretty strong or you want to go further, maybe start to stretch the legs out long without leaning backwards. Lift the hands to the toes. For 10, for 9, squeeze the legs. For 8, lift the chest. 7, 6, armpits down. 5, 4, 3, lift the arms maybe slightly higher. 2, and 1. Well done. Ooh, bring the legs down, maybe fold forward. Give yourself a couple of moments. All right, so that core should be pretty switched on now. I think we've ticked that box. So now we're going to move into our shoulders. So this is where you may need your block if you have one. So we're going to be getting a little bit more into the principles of our headstand now. So you're going to take your block and you're going to bring it in between your hands like so. So you're going to bring it like this. And whether you have a block or not, if you don't have a block, you're going to make this same shape on the mat with your hands. You're going to be squeezing the block as hard as you can, okay? So everything with our headstand is about rooting down. The more we're rooting and really grounding down, the more lightness and lift we're going to find in the body. So they're the kind of the real principles I want you to be thinking about here. It's all about the setup and the foundation. So you're going to bring your block down, you're going to be doing a dolphin. You're going to bring your forearms down. And again, hands around the block like so. I want you to squeeze into the block as much as you can if you have one. And press your forearms down. And you're trying to press the forearms and the palms down and squeeze and hug them in. Just like in plank when you were trying to draw your arms together on the mat. If you don't have a block, you're going to come down, and we're all going to be doing this in our next exercise together, but if you don't have a block, you're starting a little earlier. To find out the width of the arms, we want the arms to be as wide as the shoulders. You're going to come down and you're just going to take a firm grip of the upper arms. So it's not kind of like this. It's more a big grip of the upper arm. So it's always slightly closer together than you think with the arms. So you're going to come down and do that. The elbows are going to stay that width, and then you're just going to bring the hands down, spreading the fingers so that the wrists are in line with the elbows. Okay, so if you don't have a block, you're going to do that. The block just helps that squeezing and hugging in sensation to get the shoulders nice and active. So if you do have a block, you're just going to let that come. It should be roughly the same width. Obviously, we're all a little bit different with the width of our shoulders, but it should be about right. Spread the fingers, squeeze the block. Whether you have the block or not, you're going to press down the forearms into the mat. Start to take the gaze towards the legs, tuck the toes, and find your downward dog. So finding your downward dog here, really squeeze the block. You may find that you can walk your feet in just a little bit here. Maybe bend the knees a bit if the backs of the legs are tight. Gaze is towards the thighs, just like it is in your downward dog. Squeeze the block here and press the mat away with the forearms. You should really feel the shoulders here. Draw the abdomen in. For 3, really pressing the mat away. For 2, squeezing the block. Last full breath. And then slowly drop the knees. Go straight to a child's pose. Bring your forehead down and just rest your hands by your heels. Give yourself a couple of moments. And then slowly lift up. Take the hands behind you and just lift the chest. All right. So if you've never done dolphin before, and that was your first try of ever doing dolphin, you probably felt quite a lot in the shoulders. So if that's the case, that's probably enough for you for now. So you just go away and you just keep practicing that until you feel like you're a little stronger and you don't feel like you're collapsing. So how do we know if we're collapsing? A good sign, sometimes you just know, like I can't hold this anymore. If you notice that your elbows are starting to splay outwards rather than that hugging in, that's a sign that your chest is collapsing. And with relation to our headstand, when that starts to happen, that's when all the weight starts to go into our neck and our head, which is not what we want. We want it in our arms and our shoulders. So really listen to the body. We all learn at different rates, at different paces, and just try to just build up the steps and get each step really nailed before you move on to the next one, okay? That's how we stay nice and safe. So either continuing to practice this and maybe coming back to this video as and when you're feeling a little stronger with your dolphin, or if you feel like you could go a little further, you're going to stay with the block for now if you have one. If you don't, make sure you've got that set up with the arms, and then starting to press down with the forearms, hugging them in towards each other without them moving, looking down and finding your dolphin again. So now you're going to start to walk your feet in as close towards your face as you can without the elbows splaying outwards. You're then going to start to maybe rock backwards and forwards on the tiptoes. So just starting to get that nice sense of leaning here. So just leaning, leaning, leaning. So just getting that sense of transferring more and more weight to the upper body, leaning, keeping that lower abdomen drawn in, just nice, tipping backwards and forwards. Couple more, really squeeze the block, press the forearms in, shoulders away from the ears. Last 2. And slowly again, come down, forehead down, arms by the heels. So whenever we're practicing our headstand or anything where we're inverted, always come down and just take a child's pose, even if it's just for 5 or 6 breaths. Again, I just quite like opening my chest after that. Never be in a rush to just come straight up again, because that's when we start to maybe get a little bit lightheaded. So always making sure you just take a moment, check in, see how you're feeling, coming up when you're ready. Okay, so again, maybe that's enough for you today. Or if you want to go a little bit further, we're going to lose the block now. And we're going to start to bring our head to the mat. So one of the things that took me a while to get my head around, excuse the pun, is what part of my head should be on the mat in headstand. So a really nice way to find that spot is to pick up one of your hands, or get one of your hands, and bring the heel of the hand in between the eyebrows. And then you're going to peel so that the middle finger, your long finger, is at the top of the head, and then pressing really hard. So that is the crown of your head. So it's always a little bit further back than you think. That's the middle of the head. I always think it's about an inch further forward, but it's actually that. Isn't the body amazing how it can be like that? Okay, anyway. So you're pressing down the finger, your middle finger. So that's the part of your head you want to be on the mat when you're in your headstand. Now, you'll notice in a minute when I demo that the part of my head that comes down to the mat first of all isn't the part of my head that is on the mat once I've lifted my hip. So that might be a bit confusing. So I'm just going to show you. So when I come down, I want about the hairline of my head to touch the mat. Then when I straighten my legs, you'll notice that I roll onto the top of my head. So I'm just going to show that to you now. I'll go through the setup in a moment. For now, if you just watch my head. So I'm just going to bring my hairline down. And now I'm going to straighten my legs. Look what happens to the crown of my head, the bit that's touching the floor. So you may have noticed, hopefully, that I'm now more in the top of my head. So when you come down and bring your head down, you don't want the crown of your head going down straight away, because then when you straighten your legs, you're going to be way over onto the back of the head. So it's roughly hairline, but maybe, again, pause the video. Once we start with this next bit, just get used to what part of your head, that placement you need, so that when you straighten your legs, you're rolling onto that point. And if you ever get confused about which point that is, just stopping and pressing really hard so you can still feel that press on the head, and then going again. Okay, so that's the part of the head to make sure we're nice and stacked. Headstands are all about stacking. So when your body is properly stacked, it should feel effortless, and you should feel light coming into your headstand. It shouldn't be a struggle or an effort. If it is, then you're probably not stacked. So the moment our joints are stacked, we find more lightness in the body, and that's what you're trying to find. Okay, so our next step is going to be what we've just done, but with our head on the mat instead of hovering off the mat. So this is when we're all going to do our holding our upper arms. So you're going to come to kneeling. You're going to hold the outer arms. Remember, we're not just holding the inside, hold the outer arms. Come down. Keep the elbows where they are. Now we're going to interlace the fingers so that the hands are down, the elbows are nice and still. And you're then going to bring the hairline down to the mat. Remember, first of all, we want that rooting, so press the forearms down, feeling the shoulder blades move away from the ears, draw the abdomen in, tucking the toes, and then start to straighten the legs and walk your feet in just as much as you're able to. Really pressing down with the forearms, drawing the abdomen in. Okay, so you shouldn't feel much weight in the hands here, in the head here, sorry. It's all in the forearms. There will be a little bit in the head because it's touching the floor, but I want you to think about pressing the forearms into the mat as much as you can. Draw your abdomen in. And then again, maybe we start to just rock backwards and forwards. So really pressing the forearms down. And then maybe starting to just keep the left toes on the mat, and then just bending the right knee and drawing the right toes in towards you, the right leg in, and really squeezing the shin in towards your belly. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then right toes down, lifting the left toes up, pressing the forearms in, drawing the abdomen in, maybe rocking right onto those right tiptoes. Squeeze that shin in, and then slowly down. Maybe do that a couple of times, one leg then the other. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then slowly come down. Head stays on the mat, forehead rests on the mat, arms by the legs again. So again, can't overemphasize how important this child's pose is in between repetitions. Just slowing down and just checking in for a moment, seeing how you're feeling. Are you feeling any sensation in the neck? If so, maybe that's enough today. Slowly coming up when you're ready. And again, I just always like to just open my chest up a little bit after. All right, so how's that? If that felt quite challenging, either mentally or physically, again, maybe that's enough for today. Just continuing to work with these steps. It took me a long time to get my first headstand, and I stayed at that stage for a very long time. I can't remember how long, but for a very long time. Partly because of fear, partly because of strength, especially my shoulders. There's always been a weak part for me in my shoulders, and it's taken me a long time to build up that strength. And for a long time, it was my ego trying to get me to go a little bit further than I was ready for, because I really wanted it, but my body wasn't ready. Okay, so really trying to listen to that and just work on refining that technique. Okay, so the next step is very similar, but it's lifting both feet up off the floor. So if you feel like you want to have a go at that, again, just make sure there's nothing that you could fall over into. Now, if you're following kind of my guidance here, you're not going to fall over. The only time we will, with our headstand, it's a little bit different with our forearm stand or our handstand, where we do need a bit of momentum. In our headstand, there should be no momentum. It's all about you controlling it. It's coming from your core, well, from your core, essentially. You're controlling the movement. If we fall out of our headstand, it's because we've allowed momentum to take us there. So if you're kind of following this, you won't fall out of it. You'll feel that lightness, that effortlessness that I was mentioning earlier. But just in case, it's always best to just have something moved away. Okay, so coming down, setting up as we did before, holding the upper arms, elbows are down, interlacing the fingers, hairline down, forearms are pressing down, abdomen's drawing in, shoulders are away from the ears, starting to straighten my legs, walking in, stacking my hips. Now over my shoulders, drawing my abdomen in, squeezing one leg in, maybe leaning onto the tiptoes, and then maybe the other leg comes up to meet it, to bring the other toes up. Squeezing, 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 both knees together, really hugging, 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 drawing my abdomen in. Or maybe if that didn't quite work, you drop it and you just continue with this. Maybe just for a moment, oh, look, oh my goodness, lifting one leg up. Ooh, maybe you float for a little bit. Ooh, and then you come down. Okay, coming down, taking that rest. So doing all of this in one go is quite tiring. So already I'm actually starting to feel pretty tired in my shoulders and in my core. So doing all of this one after the other, it's a strengthening. We're strengthening it, our body. So maybe that, again, as I keep saying, is enough for today. Don't feel like you need to do this whole video in one go. I'm just kind of giving you a sense of the different steps. Okay, so that's our next step, is working up to that squeezing in with the knees in. Okay, and I want you to be able to hold each step for about 10 breaths before moving on to the next. Okay, so that's kind of your guideline as to when you're ready. I should have probably mentioned that earlier, for about 10 breaths. Okay, I'm just going to show you the full headstand from there, how I learnt it, which was really helpful for me because, again, it breaks things down into steps. Because sometimes moving from knees hugged in to knees in the air, that's or legs in the air, that's quite a big step. Okay, so I'm just going to show you, and it's all based on this whole idea of stacking. And you'll notice when I do this, I'm not kind of jumping into it. There's no momentum. I'm leaning into it and I feel very light. And until you kind of experience that in your body, you'll probably be thinking, light? But you will get there and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I want you to let me know when you found out that you know what I'm talking about when I say that lightness, because that shows you're fully stacked with the body. Okay, so I'm just going to demonstrate for those that are perhaps a little further on in their headstand practice and have been practicing this a little bit longer. So feet, head down, and then slowly coming up through my steps. Again, making sure I'm rooting down, drawing everything in. I'm going to draw one leg in, squeezing my core, and then I'm going to bring the other leg in. Now my legs are squeezing together, inner thighs are engaged, lower belly's active. Now I'm slowly going to start to bring my knees up. Okay, so this, again, is a really nice kind of halfway. And maybe this is enough, really squeezing the forearms, spreading the toes, and then one day, maybe
those straightened legs will start to come. Now, a lot of people say flex the feet, a lot of people say point the feet. I kind of always go halfway through, halfway in between. But really, as long as you're engaging your glutes, lengthening your tailbone, your core's engaged, your legs are active. So I'm squeezing my thighs, I'm squeezing my glutes here. Again, the more active the muscles are in the body, the lighter they are, which means there's less weight there in the upper body, the easier the headstand is. And then to come down, you slowly come down the same way. So you bend the knees, bring them in, and then come down. Okay. And then I take rest. All right. So hopefully that was helpful in just kind of getting the idea of that staggering up. And just go slow with it. Don't force it. Again, this took me years of practice. It really did. I'm not just saying that largely because it was my shoulders. And it takes a long time to build up strength in the body, a lot of patience. And as they say, it's all about the process. It's all about the journey, but it really is true. I mean, how true is it that in our life, we really aim to do something. The moment we've done it, we've ticked that box and we're looking at what to do next. But we learn so much along the way. We build up so much strength in both body and in mind in being able to have the discipline and patience to keep coming back and doing this. This is what it's all about. It's not about being able to balance on the head. Anyway, okay, so we're going to move to the wall for the last little the last little tip or kind of strengthening exercise I want to show you. The reason I haven't used or mentioned the wall so far is I learnt my headstand away from the wall, and I've been learning inversions near the wall, as in handstand or forearm stand. And the wall is great for helping build strength, which is what I'm going to show you now in a very safe way. However, then it's like so hard to leave. The moment we start learning near a wall, it becomes so hard to do it in the middle of the room. So if you can start learning in the middle of the room, you won't have that hurdle to kind of step over. If doing something in the middle of the room scares you so much and you don't have someone nearby, perhaps asking you doing this with a friend to have them stand by you as you're practicing lifting the feet up when you get to that point, that could be amazing, really good. Or have the wall there. I mean, obviously, it's completely up to you, but it's just knowing that the more you can get confident with doing it in the middle of the room, and knowing that if you don't start to kick up and get that momentum, you won't fall. I promise you that. If you're controlling it, you will not fall over. Do it without the wall. However, this technique I'm about to show you is a really good way to help build that strength in the upper body. But instead of facing the wall, or facing like this, we're going to be turning to face away from the wall. So it's not going to be there for our fear factor. But this is one of my favourite ways to build that upper body strength for a headstand. So you're going to come to the wall and bring the soles of your feet against the wall like I'm doing here. And then everything else applies. So exactly the same, making sure you've got that crown of the head, you know where that is. Keep the soles of the feet on the wall. Then bring your forearms down, elbows under shoulders. Okay, I know where my elbows are, good. Interlacing my fingers, bringing my hairline down, pressing the forearms into the mat so my shoulders are away from the ears, my shoulders are strong, my belly is drawing in. I'm then going to start to walk my feet, and as I straighten my legs, I'm going to roll onto the crown of my head. I'm going to walk my feet up so they're in line with my hips so I can see my toes. You can now see my hips are stacked over my shoulders, pressing my feet into the wall, and I'm pressing my forearms into the mat here. So there's very little weight on my head. So again, maybe this is just enough. If you're really feeling or noticing your elbows splaying out, remember what I said earlier, that shows your chest is collapsing. So you maybe just want to take 3 breaths, then come down and work up on building up to your 10 breaths here. Then when you have that, maybe you start to just coming onto the tiptoes a little. Abdomen's engaged. Then maybe one leg starts to come up. Really, again, flex or point the foot, whatever helps you squeeze the legs a little more. and activate the lower abdominals. And then the other leg. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Press the forearms down, abdomen in. And maybe you continue like that for a while. And then maybe if you feel that a little bit more confident, you can start squeezing everything in, finding that midline, and then maybe finding that moment of lightness. And then, oh, my toes are back. And then over time, when you get more confident with that, maybe both legs come together. And you found your headstand. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Holding this. Abdomen in, tailbones long, forearms are down. And then again, coming back with as much control if you can. Walking all the way down. And taking that child's pose. Okay. And opening the chest. All right. So that's all I was going to run through today. One last little thing is I got asked in a workshop I did recently, I can get up but then I just come down, woof. How do you come down with control? And my advice would be, come out before you're ready. So just like in our normal yoga practice, we want as much care and control coming into something as we do coming out. So if you think when you do your tree pose, you spend so much time and you really get your legs set up and you stretch your arms out in tree, but then you don't just go, right, I'm done now, and you put your leg down. You come out with control and the pose isn't over until your feet are both back on the mat. Same applies with this. So holding each step, once you get to that point when you have got your feet lifted up, whatever of those options we've gone through today that it may be, come out before you're ready. So you've still got that strength to control the descent. Okay, so it's just as important. If you feel like you're coming down and like, woof, landing, you maybe don't hold it for so long next time. So you're building up again that control in the body rather than let gravity pull you down. All right, so that's it for today. I really hope that was helpful. It's my first type of video of doing this kind of step by step. So do let me know if this is something you'd like to see more of. Any questions, get in touch, comment on below the video. Yeah, and best of luck. And please let me know if you managed to get a little bit further than you thought you could. If this helps you get your headstand, I would just love to know. I really hope it's helped you, and enjoy it.